So continuing our discussion from the other day, uh, someone's audio is on, please check. Right. Continuing our discussion from the other day, yesterday we what do you call discussed the classification of proteins on the basis of their function. So we had the last part that we discussed was what are structural proteins and what are hormonal proteins and so on and so forth based on their function. All right. Uh, Now we'll come to the more popular kind of classification, that is by chemical nature and solubility. All right. As per chemical nature, your proteins can be classified into three main categories, which will be simple proteins, conjugated proteins, and derived proteins. Now, simple proteins are those that will give only amino acids on hydrolysis. Okay, yesterday we discussed when a protein is formed, you need a peptide bond, a CONH bond to be formed in between one amino acid and the other by loss of one water molecule. All right. Meaning if you give a water molecule, you'll be able to break the bond, simply saying. All right, I'll show that to you one second. So let's suppose there is one amino acid end which has COOH, and this is the other end of the amino acid which has NHNH. Okay, NH2. So if I remove one hydrogen from the equation here and one OH from here, I will end up getting a CONH bond in between two amino acids. So basically, I have what do you call dehydrated the molecule. I have dehydrated two amino acids. So let's suppose this is amino acid A1 and this is amino acid A2. You know this end and this end will be constant always. There will be a NH2 and there will be a carboxylic acid end. So if I remove the water molecule, I'll get a peptide bond. Similarly, whenever I want to break down amino acids, I can simply hydrolyze the molecule. I can simply use water to break this bond. If I add water, OH will come and attach here, hydrogen will come and attach here, and the bond breaks. All right. In that sense, whenever I'm trying to break a simple protein, all right, what will I get is only amino acids, compared to if it is a conjugated protein. Now conjugated proteins are those proteins in which what do you call, a non-protein group is attached to a simple protein. It is not just a protein. Meaning conjugated the meaning of conjugated is mixed, in the sense that whenever I have a simple protein added with a non-protein group, it is generally called a prosthetic group. Okay, you must have read about it at some time in your intermediate, but in case you didn't, there will be a protein molecule which is attached with another non-proteinaceous molecule which is called a prosthetic group. Right, that will give you a conjugated protein. The protein part in this will be called an apoprotein, and the whole molecule will be called a holoprotein. All right, so I'll just put it this way. So let's suppose this is the protein molecule, and this is the non-proteinaceous end. All right, this non-proteinaceous end will be called a prosthetic group. Okay, this proteinaceous group will be called an apoprotein. Okay, I'll just abbreviate it as AP, and this whole thing is called a holoprotein. Okay, so that is how conjugated proteins look. They are not only proteins, they are proteins, they are simple proteins along with another molecule. It can be anything, it can be a metal, it can be a nucleic compound, anything. Okay, you have some conjugated proteins. For example will be something like hemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin has the protein part which is globin and prosthetic group which is heme. Or you have nucleoproteins like if you take chromosome. In chromosome the prosthetic group will be DNA, and the protein part will be histone proteins, those small globules that you see around which DNA is wound around. In that, that being the nucleoprotein, that is a conjugated protein formed with the conjugation of histone proteins and DNA. Right, so DNA will be the prosthetic group and the protein part is histone. All right, for this, in the same way, if you have, for example, ferritin. In ferritin, your protein part is apoferritin and the prosthetic group is iron. All right, so you get the picture how conjugated the proteins are. Then you have the last type, which is, one second, someone is trying to come in. Right, the last type, which is derived proteins. Now derived proteins are those proteins that are made from think of them as a combination of simple and conjugated proteins. Okay, they are formed from simple and conjugated proteins, and they have several different physical and chemical properties. These are the ones that will make important compounds in your body. Specifically, we'll not be getting into the nitty-gritty details of all the types of proteins, okay, because I'm sure you must have read about it at one point or the other in the basics of physiology. I needn't go over it again. uh, in any way, it will be like one line definitions. If you read it once, you'll understand. You don't need to write them also in the exam. In case they ask, just memorize the classification. All right, at least remember what is simple conjugated and derived proteins, and proteins का chemical classification ऐसा रहता है बोल के. All right. Specifically, in secondary proteins, polypeptides are the more important ones. Why? Because polypeptide examples will include hormones, specifically like vasopressin, like your antidiuretic hormone, and oxytocin, your thyrotropin releasing hormone, right, that goes released by your posterior pituitary and causes TRH release. That TSH release, sorry. That bradykinin, bradykinin is a vasodilator. Soliscalidin, all of them are polypeptides. Your gastrin, secretin, all of these are polypeptides. Okay, angiotensin 1, angiotensin 2, they play an important role in RAS. आप लोगों को कभी RAS पढ़ा है? Renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system?
No, sir.
नहीं पढ़ा है. अच्छा ठीक है. किडनी नहीं हुआ आप लोगों को? किडनी एनाटॉमी फिजियोलॉजी में किडनी पढ़ा है? यूरिनरी सिस्टम पढ़ा दिए. ओके, बट उसमें रास नहीं था.
No, sir.
One function of kidney is renin release. No, you haven't been taught what renin does and where it will participate and what is the significance of renin. ठीक है, अभी नहीं पढ़ा है तो नेक्स्ट ईयर कैसे पैथोलॉजी में पढ़ते हैं आप. दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड हाइपरटेंशन, what is RAS and all. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to that. This is the what you call chemical classification. Coming to the next type of classification for proteins, it will be nutritional classification. All right. So if we talk about nutritional classification, now your proteins are of three main types. Okay, nutritionally speaking. So you have complete proteins. Basically, complete proteins are those proteins which will have all the essential amino acids, right? So if I talk about nutritional classification, in this you have complete proteins. Now complete protein will be any protein containing all amino acid, essential amino acid, contains all essential amino acid. Please remember that essential amino acids are those that you require. Okay, it cannot be produced by your body. One example of this will be the casein in milk. So let's write it as milk casein, and albumin in egg. Both of them are albumin. Both of these are complete proteins. You will get all the forms of what you call essential amino acids. All the 10 essential amino acids will be present in your egg albumin and your milk casein. Hence, they are called complete proteins. You do not need any more supplement other than this if you are taking this. Okay. Then you have partially incomplete proteins. These are those proteins which have what you call, basically these are proteins in which the amino acids which are present, they have low biological significance. They will not play that important role, and they will generally lack one or more essential amino acids. Okay, they do not contain all amino acids. Something like wheat and rice. Okay, both of them are sources of partial what do you call, they are partially incomplete proteins, in the sense that they will not have all the amino acids, and they will not have biologically significant amino acids. At least they'll miss some of them. All right. Then you have proper incomplete proteins. Incomplete proteins are those proteins which will have amino acids which do not have any significant biological value. So in the sense, zero biological value रहता है इन लोगों का. Something like gelatin. Okay, because it will mostly contain amino acids it will lack more than 2 or 3 types of essential amino acids, to put it simply. Okay, even if you are taking gelatin, it cannot substitute a proper protein source. So if you see, the best bang for your buck will be complete proteins, something like egg or milk casein. The worst will be incomplete proteins which do not have enough amount of amino acids that you need every day to survive. All right, essential amino acids for normal functioning. So these three are the categories of your proteins nutritionally. Now, coming to functions of your amino acids, important substances that are derived from your amino acids, will not be getting into the synthesis of all the types of this thing, the products, because even if it is there in your this thing Vijayam series, according to your syllabus, it is not like you do not need to go into complete detail, but you do need to know what kind of compounds are formed, at least. So we'll be going over that. So important substances derived from amino acids. All right. In your textbook, you might find a lot of detail containing how these compounds in turn are formed along with their cycles. You needn't go over it. Okay, that is unnecessary detail for you. I just went over your what you call syllabus copy. In that, it clearly tells name only. So we'll go over name only and maybe a little bit of disorders related to what happens if those important compounds are not present. All right. So coming to the first two amino acids, we have phenyl, phenylalanine and tyrosine. One is a non-essential amino acid, the other is an essential amino acid. Phenylalanine being the essential amino acid. Okay, these are structurally related. They are interconvertible in a way, in the sense that when your body needs phenylalanine, it can use up tyrosine. In case you are lacking phenylalanine and your body needs phenylalanine for some what you call metabolic function, in its place tyrosine can be used. All right, and vice versa sometimes. So what kind of products do you get from both of these? You'll be able to get, so if you remember tyrosine, I told you we studied about tyrosine once before. It is important for the formation of thyroxine. All right, T3, very important for the formation of T3. If tyrosine is not present, there'll be no T3. And for the formation of melanin, right, the pigmentation hormone, then dopamine, then catecholamines. Catecholamines include epinephrine, adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, ठीक है, norepinephrine, all of those. Right, आपके adrenal medulla से जो secrete होते हैं, catecholamines, right, those, and it is responsible for the formation of glucose as well as fat. Meaning, if both of these are able to produce both glucose and fat, they will be glucogenic and ketogenic. They are mixed. Okay, they will be able to form both glucose and ketose. From fat, you'll be able to get ketoglutaric acid, which will be the ketone source, and from glucose, you obviously the glucose itself is vertical, makes it glucogenic, and they are responsible for the formation of a few proteins. Okay, now in case, let's suppose phenylalanine or tyrosine are not being, specifically tyrosine is not being metabolized properly, some important disorders that can occur in which tyrosine metabolism does not occur properly. If tyrosine is not being metabolized properly, all of these what you call compounds on the right will not be formed, right. One very important disorder is called phenylketonuria. In this, what will happen is there will be a metabolic gap, or you can tell metabolism is improper, in which phenylalanine cannot be converted into tyrosine. Whatever phenylalanine that you consume, see, tyrosine is a non-essential amino acid and phenylalanine is an essential amino acid, meaning you consume phenylalanine from outside. Tyrosine is generally made. All right, how it is made is the what you call phenylalanine that you consume is converted into tyrosine. Phenylketonuria is a condition in which phenylalanine cannot be converted into tyrosine. Okay, this fellow will not be able to convert into this fellow. Normally, tyrosine formation in your body is dependent on phenylalanine. Phenylalanine you can consume from outside, from food. All right. In a condition which is phenylketonuria, the person will not be able to convert phenylalanine into tyrosine. If it is not able to convert into tyrosine, you will have hypothyroidism, you will have hypopigmentation, you will have what do you call decreased heart rate. All of that will happen. All right, the proteins that are found from these two, you will have a deficiency of these proteins. That is a big disorder, genetic disorder. Then you have hypopigmentation. Associated with hyperpigmentation, you will also have albinism. This is extreme hypopigmentation, but hypopigmentation in turn will present as either vitiligo, or vitiligo is also called leukoderma. Ever heard of vitiligo or leukoderma? Acha, if you have heard or not, have you heard or ever come across the disease vitiligo?
No, sir.
No.
No,
Sir,
sir.
sir.
Vitiligo is basically that disease. Have you ever seen a person who has patchy skin? They will have, let's suppose they are darker in color. Okay, in like normally they are darker in color, but they will have patches of skin which will be like stark white or literally pink in color. All right, they will have
Yes.
patchy skin. Right, that is vitiligo. That is hypopigmentation. There will be small patches or small areas where pigmentation has not occurred. Now for pigmentation to occur, you need melanin. Here tyrosine is not able to be, tyrosine is not being formed, because of which you do not have adequate amount of melanin. This will present as patches. Okay, in some people it will present as patches, in some people it will be like albinism. Ever came across albinos? Albinos are those people, they are like completely white, they completely lack melanin altogether, so they'll be like stark white, almost like snow white. Okay, they don't even have, see, melanin is not just important for the color of your skin, but also for the color of your hair and the color of your eyes. So the people of who have albinism, they will literally have white hair, they will have white eyebrows, the beard that they have, that will also be white, no pigment at all. Okay, and the skin will be extremely white. Okay, almost to the extent that if they go into snow, you will not be able to see them, that needn't put on anything to hide. Okay, that is albinism. Right, I'm sure you must have seen an albino sometime or the other. People who have albinism are called albinos. You
Yes.
must have seen them sometime or the other, kabhi na kabhi photos mein or something. Rarely you do even have them in India, but rare. So that is about phenylalanine and tyrosine. Then you have tryptophan. Tryptophan also is a glucogenic and ketogenic compound, meaning it will be responsible for the formation of glucose and fat. See, from this, from what it is forming, you can what do you call, uh, conclude what type of amino acid it is, whether it is glucogenic or ketogenic or both. If it is giving both, if it is giving only glucose, it is glucogenic. If it is giving only fat, then it is ketogenic. If it is giving both of them, then it is glucogenic and ketogenic. So it will give glucose, it will give fat, it will give a few proteins, responsible for the formation of proteins, and one important compound called indole acetic acid. It's an important metabolite for several reactions. I'll not get into that. Also for NAD plus and NAD plus, NADP plus, both of them are responsible for metabolism of niacin. Okay, niacin is a very important vitamin. Niacin, and it's also responsible for formation of serotonin. ठीक है, why serotonin important? Serotonin को जब metabolize करते, serotonin itself plays an important role in your brain, but other than its function as a neurotransmitter and its function as an important chemical in your brain, it will work as a mood stabilizer, and it is responsible for your emotions as well to an extent. Serotonin is also responsible for the formation of melatonin. Okay, if you metabolize serotonin, you will get a particular hormone called melatonin. Melatonin is very important for maintaining your circadian rhythm, especially your sleep wake cycle. Basically, if you do not have enough amount of melatonin, you will not have adequate sleep, or your sleep will be disturbed. You'll not go into proper sleep. We'll discuss about sleep when we, I'm not sure आप लोगों को कभी sleep के बारे में पढ़ा है या sleep disorders के बारे में कभी पढ़े आप लोग? I don't think आप लोगों को अभी तक कभी पढ़ाए
No,
होंगे.
sir.
नहीं पढ़ा है
No,
ना?
sir.
Okay, you'll have different types of sleep disorders. In that, you'll understand what is sleep and what are the phases of sleep, in which melatonin plays a very important role, especially in a very particular type of sleep called REM sleep. If you do not have melatonin, you'll not be able to sleep properly. So that is why serotonin is also important, because of which tryptophan is essential. If tryptophan is not there, there will not be any serotonin. All of these compounds will not be there, which can again create other problems altogether. Then the next amino acid will be glycine. Now glycine से आपको मिलता एक और amino acid which is serine. So from your glycine you can make, second, yeah, from your glycine you can make glucose, you can make serine, you can make creatine. Creatine is a very important compound for muscle contraction. If आप लोगों को biology हो गई बोले तो you'll know what is the importance of creatine monohydrate or creatine in general. It is responsible for force production in your muscles, especially during any physically taxing activity. Right? For glutathione, glutathione is an antioxidant, okay, of your body. Then for purines and pyrimidines, only purine specifically, pyrimidines not so much, for the production of heme, and for conjugation reactions of your liver. If conjugation reactions do not occur, what will happen is bile acids will start getting accumulated and toxins will start getting accumulated. Conjugation is an important step, which is also kind of correlated with the detoxification function of your liver. All right, glycine plays an important role in the conjugation of your liver. It will cause the formation of oxalate, ammonia, and vomit. All of these are formed from your glycine. This is glucogenic. Okay, only glucose, no fat. So that is about glycine. Then you have the fourth amino acid, which is methionine. Methionine, cysteine, cysteine, ये पूरे sulfur containing amino acids रहते हैं. Methionine is specifically very important because it is responsible for initiation step in protein synthesis. Without methionine, you will not be able to start protein synthesis. Okay, if you have ever read about synthesis of proteins or आपके intermediate में आप लोगों को कभी पढ़ा है राइबोसोम से कैसा प्रोटीन्स बनते हैं, at least briefly? You know, mRNA chain is read by your ribosomes and in turn codons are read. पढ़ाए थे?
Yes, sir.
एक mRNA का ऐसा वर्टिकल चेन रहता है, उसके ऊपर 3 कोडॉन्स रहते. Your RNA comes and binds here, the larger end comes and binds here, the shorter end comes and binds here. In our case we are eukaryotes बोले तो 80s type of ribosomes रहते हैं. 60s का बड़ा यूनिट इधर रहता, 40s का छोटा यूनिट इधर रहता. ठीक है, ठीक है. 60 plus 40s in this scenario will make 80s because some units will be lost. Okay, not that they don't know how to do math, but यहाँ पर राइबोसोम आके what will happen is you will have an A site, P site, E site. यहाँ से one amino acid will start attaching in a chain like this and you will get a peptide chain. Okay, your tRNA will come and start transporting. वो transport कैसा करते हैं तो ये कोडॉन को read करते. Whenever there is an mRNA sheet, translation to transcription. Okay, sorry, transcription to translation. Transcription में you are basically converting to mRNA. From mRNA you convert into DNA. यहाँ पर क्या बोलते, ये कोडॉन को रीड करके you'll bring specific amino acid. All right, this codon, the first codon generally will be methionine. All right, it will code for methionine. If you do not have methionine, you cannot start the process of protein synthesis. ये amino acid का chain will make peptides. Several chains of peptides will make proteins. If you do not have methionine, you cannot start protein synthesis itself. I hope you remember this. I didn't go into detail. If you want me to, I'll take a class on what is protein synthesis. But this was just to remind you what was protein synthesis, which you already read, hopefully. Some specific things about methionine is obviously it is a precursor to protein synthesis. Very important for protein synthesis and for cysteine and cysteine. These in turn are amino acids. Okay. Cysteine is an amino acid. If you combine two molecules of cysteine, you will get one molecule of cysteine. Okay. But the catch is that cysteine is not soluble in water. That will be a problem. So methionine is responsible for the formation of cysteine, cysteine. Both of them again are sulfur-containing amino acids, and it is required for the initiation step of your protein synthesis. Without methionine, no protein synthesis will occur. Then we have histidine. Histidine क्या करता? It will be responsible for the formation of histamine. आप लोगों को GIT हुआ फिजियोलॉजी में, गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल ट्रैक्ट या एटलीस्ट स्टमक?
Yes, sir.
हो गया. Then what is the significance of histamine? Who secretes histamine and what is the significance of histamine? Just briefly भी बोल दो, ऐसे ज़्यादा डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Who secretes histamine? Yeah, what is the function of histamine? You need to start correlating subjects. What does histamine do? It has something to do with acid production, no? नहीं याद है? I'll give you a hint. It is secreted by enterocomafin-like cells.
Histone, sir.
Histone. किसी का बैकग्राउंड में आवाज बहुत आ रही है. Alright. Okay. Histamine is secreted by your enterocomafin-like cells. It will in turn go and stimulate your parietal cell. Parietal cell will cause the formation of HCl. Alright. Histamine ka stimulation through your histamine receptor is required for the formation of HCl. That is one way through which you can get acid to be produced. The other ways include through gastrin or through vagus stimulation. Yeah. Anyway, we are deviating. Your histidine is also responsible for the formation of, or it will help in formation of hemoglobin. It will participate in Krebs cycle, and it will be important in formation of glutamate. Right? All of these functions. You'll understand in a short while why glutamate is important. So the sixth one will be proline. Proline specifically has one important function: formation of glutamate. Then you have arginine. Arginine is responsible for the formation of ornithine. Ornithine will be what you call a compound that takes part in urea cycle. How urea is excreted out of your body, or how ammonia is converted into urea, which can be excreted out of your body. Okay, one way through which your body gets rid of nitrogen. All right, you will have something called ornithine cycle or urea cycle later on. That will I'll explain. In that you will understand the significance of ornithine. So ornithine is one. It will form glutamate. It is important for the formation of nitrous oxide or creatine for some proteins, specific proteins, and urea in turn. But without arginine, you will not have proper urea. Right. So this is about arginine. The last one is glutamate. So the last one is glutamate, or I'll do it this way. Glutamine and glutamate both are interchangeable. So you have glutamine and glutamate. Their significance is glutamine specifically, this fellow is responsible for the formation of both purines and pyrimidines. Purines or pyrimidines agar nahi rahe, तो your DNA structure will not be able to form. Okay. So this is important component of the formation of your DNA and nuclear material, pyrimidines. It's also responsible for the formation of a few amino sugars, for detoxification, and the formation of urea. All of this requires glutamine. Glutamate specifically, glutamine can be converted into glutamate and vice versa. Glutamate is responsible for the formation of a very important neurotransmitter called GABA. GABA का significance क्या है? न्यूरो आप लोगों को न्यूरॉन स्ट्रक्चर एंड इंटरन्यूरॉन्स के बारे में पढ़ा है अब तक?
No, sir.
नहीं, अच्छा तो okay, you will have something called neurotransmitters. Okay, neurotransmitters are those compounds that will help in transmission of impulses. So आपका एक neuron, okay, I'm sure you must have heard about a structure called neuron at least, right? So this is a neuron, and let's suppose this is a neuron, and this is the synaptic cleft. Okay, this neuron will talk to, so let's suppose this is neuron 1 and this is neuron 2. न्यूरॉन 1 को प्री सिनेप्टिक न्यूरॉन बोलते हैं, न्यूरॉन 2 को पोस्ट सिनेप्टिक न्यूरॉन बोलते हैं. सिनेप्स के बाद है, सिनेप्स से पहले है. ऑलराइट, generally messages, if your brain wants to communicate or your one part of your body wants to communicate with other part of body, what will happen is impulses are transferred like this. There will literally be current flowing through your neurons. They will go and stimulate one vesicle at the end of your neuron. Okay, that vesicle will contain something called a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter, think of them as messengers of this impulse. ये neurotransmitter क्या करता, जाके ये membrane के surface को attach होके exocytose हो जाता. So this will attach and release the neurotransmitters outside. Meaning what will happen is neurotransmitters will come outside here. You will have receptors present on the dendrite of the next neuron. ये start part है and the end part है. This is the end of the axon and this is the axon terminal and this is the apex of the axon. Basically your dendrites, right? यहाँ पर you will have small receptors like this on which this neurotransmitter can go and attach. When this fellow goes and attaches, it will give a signal and action potential continues. That is how action potential propagates. Okay, I'm giving it to you very briefly. You'll understand it a little bit more when you come across neurology and all. But GABA is very important in inhibition of this neurotransmitter. Okay, you will have something called an interneuron present here, which will have GABA inside. Okay, इसके अंदर एक और type of neurotransmitter रहता है called GABA. Whenever GABA is present, this fellow will go and attach to another receptor here, and it will cause chlorine influx, and it will stop this action potential from propagating. It will stop that message from going. Why is this important? If you have continuous transmission without the presence of GABA, अगर ये GABA नहीं रहा to stop in between, and this is continuously what you call firing again and again, there can be a chance that the person might develop epilepsy or they might have convulsions or seizures. That is why GABA plays a very important role. I hope आप लोगों को समझ में आया. वो जरा long winded था because you don't know what is what you call GABA and what is neurotransmission.
Yes, sir.
But you will understand a little bit more when you study about action potentials and what is the significance of interneurons. Interneurons will be the ones that will secrete GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. Okay, glutathione is one compound. Then it is responsible for clotting factors. It is responsible for it is an important component of clotting factors. So clotting factors like number, I'm sure आप लोगों को clotting factors भी अब तक नहीं पढ़े होंगे. Number 2, number 7, number 9, and number 10. You have 13 clotting factors in total, but you can see four clotting factors will take their origin or their structure comes from glutamate. Okay, you will have a very specific compound that is formed from glutamate that takes part in the formation of clotting factor. Glucose, ammonia, and a few proteins here and there. So these are the important compounds that you get from glutamate, and these are the important compounds in general of your amino acids. Okay, the others also have some important compounds, but we'll not be discussing that. At least it's not in your portion. These are the significant ones what we discussed. Okay, so continue in the next class. Then I'll just take your attendance.